Atlassian is increasing the total number of users that you can have in Jira and in Confluence. And in this video, we're going to talk about why this is important and what it means for the future of Atlassian. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and let's jump into it. So at Team 25, Atlassian shared this graphic with us where 150,000 users can now be supported on a single Confluence site, and 100,000 users will soon be supported on a single Jira site. And this is important for one of two reasons. One, you no longer have high glass ceilings on how many users can be using the Jira or Confluence products. And this is important for Atlassian growth. Atlassian needs this because, as I mentioned in other videos, Atlassian has kind of monopolized a lot of industries already. And if you're using Jira, you probably have your technical teams in there, your developers, your IT teams, they're using Jira and they're well underway. But what happens when you're a giant corporation with 100,000 users and Atlassian, through their system of work, wants all those 100,000 users in Jira, but you can't, right? Because if there's a limit to how many users you can grow the platform to, you're not going to be able to bring on every employee. And so Atlassian is doing this very, very proactively to say, hey, we are ready to receive all of your 100,000 users because now everybody can use Jira and we can grow and scale this. Right. And so that from that perspective, that's really, really good. But two, from a shareholder perspective, this is very exciting because again, we're pushing the limits to how many users, how many customers we're going to have, right? Because now a company can not just buy it for 5, 10,000, 15,000 developers, but now we can buy for 100,000 users. And that's very important, right? Because that's going to allow Atlassian to grow. But in that growth, as more and more people come into the Atlassian platform, they're going to combine all of this with their system of work. They're going to combine all of this with their teamwork graph. They're going to combine all this with their ability to have Rovo connect with other external tools. And the whole thing for 100,000 users is going to be like AI on steroids. Atlassian is going to know everything about every employee to levels that are just going to unleash like extraordinary levels of productivity, right? Because every user will be in the tool. Every user is going to be using Jira. But because Atlassian is growing so much, they also shared a couple of other metrics. And the ones I want to highlight is this 55% and these 36 and 25. And what this means is that Atlassian, because of the influx of new work coming in, because of the influx of new users coming in, right? And there's just more noise, more signals happening. Atlassian has had to make Jira faster. And so we have a 55% decrease in load time from a space overview. We have 36% decrease to load time when you're editing a page. We have a 25% decrease in load time from a classic backlog view. And Jira needs to feel fast. Jira needs to feel quick and snappy because technical teams tend to have much higher tolerance for slowness. Non-technical teams, they just want it to work. They just want Jira to react. And if you're growing, right, if you're putting much more data into Jira, it's got to be able to react to that load. And so this is really important. And then the other thing that they kind of just announced is 6 apps are going to have coverage for data residency. So these are part of their Atlassian tool. So we have things like Rovo and Loom and the Home app, Focus app, right? These are going to be apps that are going to allow you as a customer to call out where you put your data. That's very, very important, right? Because especially as we start talking about Rovo and AI and privacy and security, you're going to want more control. You're going to want to have a better sense of understanding and a better sense of control as to where your data is and what's going on with your data. So that's going to be important. And then for the really, really big customers, the ones that have not converted over to the cloud, it's all about compliance down here. So Atlassian is working aggressively to try to get their FedRAMP authorizations. They're currently in FedRAMP moderate. They have a long way to go, but these are steps in the right directions. But many, many countries, many governments around the world, they expect a certain level of security and compliance from Atlassian. And so Atlassian continues to make that move because Atlassian still has a lot of folks on data center that are historically been on data center for 20 plus years, and they need to grab those users and bring them to the cloud because everything that Atlassian announced, like 99.99% of everything, is in the cloud. The teamwork graph is in the cloud. Rovo is in the cloud. AI is in the cloud. Everything's in the cloud. And the data center folks are getting left behind. And so it's very critical that Atlassian works on this compliance perspective to get, or at least create a path for these enterprise customers, huge enterprise customers, right? 100, usually 100,000 plus customers, to get them off a data center and into the cloud. So Atlassian has sat down with their customers, especially the data center customers, and try to really understand why can't you come to the cloud? And Atlassian's like, okay, we're just gonna go knock each one of these down. Every excuse, we're just gonna give you a path. And so this is what you're seeing exactly on this slide here. So kudos to Atlassian for making all this possible. It's a big, big undertaking. I don't think it's something that Atlassian was foreshadowing when they first created Jira 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. And so it's interesting to see how Atlassian's adapting and changing and evolving over time and steps in the right direction. I see Atlassian growing exponentially in this space, and I'm very excited for the future of Atlassian here. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you drop a like if you got value to this video, and let me know in the comment section, are these numbers going to help you and your team out? I'm very curious to see. I know Atlassian did some research there, but I'm very curious to see from you all. Does having ability to have 150,000 Confluence users and 100,000 Jira users make sense to you and your team? Let me know down below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.